Tonight in Israel, they celebrate a Holocaust Memorial Day, Yom HaShoa. And obviously it's something that almost every Jew in the world has been affected by in some level. Of course, the Holocaust is not the beginning of anti-Semitism. It's humanity's oldest hatred. And unlike the typical bigotry that most hatreds have, dislike of the unlike, looking at the other as inferior, which anti-Semitism had aspects of, anti-Semitism has been 2,000 years of demonization. Not saying the Jew is inferior, saying the Jew is evil. Whatever represents the collective Jew, if it's Jewish religion, the Jewish religion is the most evil thing in the world. It's the incarnation of evil. If it's Jewish race, the Jewish race, if that's how they're identified, then the Jewish race becomes the most evil thing. Now it's a Jewish nation state, that becomes the most evil thing. And a tale of two grandparents. My father's father, my grandfather, in Germany in the early 1930s, watched how the legal profession, on the one hand, he was studying law, and the universities, on the other hand, were moralizing the demonization of Jews. And the way it worked is always, there was World War I, they looked at the atrocities and the horrors. Somehow the Jews were in the mind of German students linked to all that, and they were just defending the world against these oppressive Jews. And he began to see the boycotting of Jewish professors on campus, and the way the legal professionals were finding ways to say Jews are guilty of this, that, and the other. And he thought there's no hope for Germany, and he left. At a time when most people thought it's just a phase, it will be over. My wife's grandmother, my wife's mother's mother, she was not so fortunate as to be able to leave. She was in Hungary, and in 1944 came to Auschwitz on a train with hundreds of relatives. Most of her village were relatives of one another. Half an hour to an hour into her being in Auschwitz, she was one of only 3 people still alive from that train carriage. And it shows you a lot of things. You know, I guess one message is Jew demonization morphs in every society, but it will be there. It can hit legal professions and university campuses. Humanity's darkness can always be shrouded in moralization. People can be demonizing Jews, the Jewish collective, whilst believing they don't hate Jews and believing in their moralization. It's for some very good moral cause, especially when there really is suffering in the world. But I think the most important thing of all to me is I never grew up thinking of my grandparents as victims of anything. In fact, they didn't even talk that much about the Holocaust till much later on, our grandparents' generation. They were people who had confronted the most vicious darkness that had ever happened to the world. And they said, let's get up and meet that darkness with light. Let's build. Let's rebuild. And that has always been the right way to confront darkness, by just shine more light, just commit more deeply to life. If there's war, let's commit more deeply to peace. If there's hatred, let's commit more deeply to love. And that's how we honor their memory. That's the candles that we light for them tonight in the memory of the 6 million and the millions and millions and millions of Jews who every century in history have been persecuted, demonized, destroyed. We have to always respond by our generation committing ourselves and our children to shining more light and building a better world.